We are in a golden era of TV advertising. We've reached a point where we're stretching beyond how we used to think about TV in the past, not just in terms of channels and services, but our understanding of consumers, of viewers, of audiences from a perspective of a connected home. Now, in this talk, I'm going to take you through a few things. We're going to talk about the fragmented TV landscape and streaming. I'm going to take you through some Samsung-specific insights that we have about streaming across Europe, which are really interesting. But we'll take it deeper into some research we've done about TV moments. What's the motivation behind people using streaming services? We will then take you through a few things around what can we do about this? What's the future? And I'll call it out now, and we'll talk to you loads about data. I'm a data person, that's what I'm going to talk about. But it's some fantastic opportunities for us in this ecosystem to say we have challenges, but there's tools out there that are going to be incredibly helpful. And lastly, big tease from me, we have some really interesting news about what is the future of the connected home and what does that mean for advertisers. Anyway, I'm going to start at the very beginning by saying, just kind of qualifying why Samsung were able to talk about this. Bold statement, we really know TV and we understand connected homes. 3 in 5 consumers have a Samsung device. I'm going to try something new here. In the past, I would tell you I've got 5 Samsung devices at home, but I get a really good discount. But I look in the eyes of people and I see them counting and I kind of move on. So almost I want all of you to have just a quick think. In your household, how many Samsung devices have you got that are either your personal device or a shared one? So it could be one of the TVs. It could be some of the great kind of consumer appliances. So washing machines, TVs, fridges, a kind of vacuum cleaner. We've got wearable devices, watches, rings, mobile phones and tablets. For the iPhone users in the audience, other phones do exist. Do exist. I know that's tough at a kind of media tech conference, but yeah. So are we nationally representative? Hands up if you've got 1 Samsung or more devices in your home. Is it going to be 3 out of 5? That is more than 3 out of 5. Okay. Keep them raised if you've got 2, 3, 5, more than me. Wow, you don't even get the discount. That's amazing. The point being with this, Samsung understands the connected home as well. But on top of that, we understand TV. #1 TV smart system. But we also have our own streaming app, Samsung TV Plus. 88 million users worldwide. In addition to that, in Europe, we have 66 million connected TVs. And those connected TVs give us an amazing understanding about what's happening, what consumers are doing, what they're watching, and it brings data back. And we use that data to drive the user experience, so the user has a better experience, but we also use it to power our ad platform for brands. And of the data we collect, we have what we like to call a screen view. I won't go into our ACR technology, it's amazing, but we have a screen view, so we understand what people are watching on linear, what programs they're watching, what ads they're watching. We also understand when people are streaming, what apps they're streaming, how long they're streaming it for, how they're cutting between them, and even we know someone's gaming, what console they've got attached, and what games they're playing. The point is, there's data out there that means we really understand what people are doing when they're watching TV. Now, the next one I just want to add is that as part of our ads platform, we are first and foremost a brand. So we make sure that actually we understand brands. It's super important for us that we have premium environments. It's super important for us that we have brand safety because first and foremost, we are a brand that understands other brands. Right. Now, let me talk about the TV landscape. First of all, let me take you back in time, a time to the age of linear TV, when TV moments were often shared, when you would sit down TV and quite often we would watch it together as a family, or you'd be able to watch it connected, a shared experience across the country. This was a time when there were very few channels and mass simultaneous reach was a simple thing to achieve. By the way, as part of this, I saw this picture and I got an immediate flashback of remote controls didn't exist in the 80s and the late 90s, but they did. They were children. I was one of these children, constantly told to get up and change the channel, see if there was something better on. But the amazing bit about that mass simultaneous reach with linear TV was that you could, if you had a great creative, you could then add that with your mass simultaneous reach and you could achieve this big, huge ripple effect in society and culture. We think about advertisements like, let's say, the Cadbury's Gorilla, or we think about the kind of Guinness ads. Number one, yes, fantastic creative, but things that could then be accelerated by that mass simultaneous reach. But now we find ourselves in a place where the world has changed. We're in the future now. Rather than this child being a remote control, I think they're just screaming at the TV, play Paw Patrol. But we're in a point where everything has changed in the landscape. It's never been better to be a consumer. They have access to the best of global content, the best of local content, all on demand whenever they want it. This is a fantastic experience for a consumer, but for an advertiser, it creates real challenges about how do you reach your audience. From Samsung's data, we're at a point now for the UK and Germany, of time spent, 55% of that is spent in streaming environments, and 45% of that is spent in linear. If you go to the US, that increases to 70% in streaming, 30% in linear. As an advertiser, you now have a real challenge. It's not that linear's gone away, it hasn't. You still have to consider linear, but now your consumers are moving on. How do you find them? How do you leverage them? It even gets, oh yeah. Before I move on, let me take you through a few stats as well. It's really interesting to have seen that Ampere analysis beforehand. Super timely. From Samsung data across Europe, we see that, as mentioned, 55% time streaming in a lot of the big EU countries. On average, people are using 4 apps across the month. That can shoot up to some people, like 10% are using over 9 apps. Streaming is really here. They're cutting between different apps. 85% of them are using multiple apps. The challenge is, how do you follow those consumers across those environments? Those viewers, audiences that previously you would have found in linear, how do you track them into those streaming environments? Keep moving too far. And the other piece is, it gets even more complicated. We did some research to understand why do consumers make decisions to watch the content they watch? What are the kind of key motivators behind them? We did this by running surveys of 1,600 consumers to say, actually, when you decided to watch something, why did you watch? I'd like you all to kind of think back to the last piece of TV you watched, whether it's linear, whether it's streaming. Why did you watch it? Who are you watching it with? Is it something you regularly do? It turns out there's a whole wealth of things that determine why users do what they do and the situations we're in. But it matters to advertisers because it really changes a lot of things. Depending on situations can actually determine our tolerance to ads. Some really interesting stuff came out that said when you're co-viewing, so I'm sitting there watching with my partner or family, actually our tolerance goes up. And we found that when users were super engaged with a piece of content, that's when ad tolerance was actually at its lowest. So it's really challenging to say, okay, so number one, I've got a fragmented market, and it actually turns out that not every ad impression to my target audience within my frequency cap is actually a good thing. There's even more challenges and more things to consider. And there's signals in the data that actually can help us understand and pick out these opportunities. I want to go back. So far, I've told you, it's all really bad, it's all really tricky, it's all really hard. But actually, what I need to talk to next is to say, it's okay. With connected TVs, we get streaming, a fantastic thing for consumers, but also with the connected TVs, it brings data. And data is the answer to this fragmentation. Data enables us to actually follow consumers across their journey, across their different touch points, and keeps advertisers connected to those consumers. With Samsung, during, I say peak time, between peak viewing, we collect over 1 billion data points every minute. Technology enables us to stay connected to those viewers. And with that, advertisers can then start to make better decisions about how to reach users. We can help across better pre-campaign insights, better targeting, better optimization, and better measurement. I'm going to take you through an example of what better pre-campaign optimization could look like. So here's something we have called Samsung's Insights Planner. It's driven by data. Yes, this is in the Samsung environment, but this is the kind of thing that could and should exist across the entire industry. Here we've got an example of an auto client who ran a campaign. They had a target audience of ABC ones. They managed to reach 40% of those in linear. So 60% they didn't hit. That sounds bad. That's actually pretty good. But what we're able to do with the data is to chase that audience they didn't reach. Where are they? So the first thing when we look at that, we found actually 47% of them weren't watching linear. So that linear campaign was never going to reach them. So what else can you do with that? You can even also say, well, how do I benchmark against my competitors? And we found that, well, actually your competitors are getting a better linear reach. So you've still got legs in linear, but what else can you do to reach that unmet audience? I want to be very clear at this point. This isn't about saying linear versus streaming. This is about optimizing your total TV buy. So what we can then do is take that audience that we didn't hit and say, where are they spending their time? Are they in SVOD? They're in AVOD, BVOD, got Samsung service there. But it shows in this fragmented market, you can now make better decisions about where you put your budgets to track those users in this fragmented space, all powered by data. For instance, I think the really interesting piece here, as it showed, you can say of your unmet audience, you can find that in this example, there was a bunch of them you could get by daytime linear buys, which was kind of unexpected, and also big peaks in SVOD usage. Other opportunities, of course, almost fairly standard for this audience, with this wealth of data, better targeting, but there's some really interesting things you can do with you've got that wealth of data, and you start linking it up to machine learning and AI. In this example, this is something we have live whereby we help app partners get new signups. We use the wealth of data to then target automatically users, show them advertising, and then through the life of the campaign, the algorithm optimizes itself. So it's constantly changing to be the most performant it can be. When you've got a huge wealth of data coupled with AI, that's when it gets really interesting, the outcomes you can get. And lastly, cross-media measurement. JICs are so important. The JICs like Bub, the JICs like we have here, Origin, JICs across Europe are vital for our industries. We are very proud to say we are a founding member of Origin, who will try and solve that cross-media measurement challenge that brands and agencies have had so long. How can I understand where my spend on Google and Facebook crosses over with my spend on all my TV, whether that's linear and streaming? Classic challenges, and I'll be honest, when I first heard about that project about 5 years ago, I thought you have got no chance of getting the likes of Google and Meta to buy into this and be part of it. But we're here. The project is about to launch very soon. It'll be really interesting to see what this means. Once again, helping people understand their buy, helping them optimize that buy, understanding where they're overreaching people. Right. And now, sorry, I've been wandering around too much, not looking at my notes. And finally, some big news. I'm thrilled to announce that in 2025, we're going to be extending the reach of our data across the connected home to also include mobile data. This is a milestone in stepping out of just TV expertise to also bring in our mobile data around connected consumers, so we can really give a view of the connected home. Mobile data allows us to get an even deeper understanding of our Samsung audiences throughout the day and across multiple screens. While our data has always given us a wealth of important, actionable data, matching up mobile data adds a whole new layer of depth that can help us to understand more of a consumer's day and understand how their depth sits across a connected home. We'll be able to enrich our understanding about the interest and lifestyle, which we already garner from TV data. And these incredible insights and user behavior and interest will empower our brands with even more relevant and effective advertising. Super exciting stuff for us. But anyway, I'd like to say thank you very much. It's been an honor. Thank you for your time.